Do, 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 do. Hiya, folks. Old Man Grognard here. How you doing? Once again, I have a light behind me. Let me fix that. Be right back. There we go. I hope this isn't going to become a running gag, but there you are. Hi, how you doing, folks? I haven't talked to you in a while, at least solo since last week. Oh, what things are going on? Things are going on with me. How about you? Well, things are going okay. I still don't have a game. I mean, I did the Monday game last night, but that was online. And excuse me, I don't think it's all right. It's all right. I get to talk to people I want to talk about, and so I'm just taking it that way. But I really like to GM something with people face to face. But we've been through that before. What else is going on? I should have some editing work to do on the Wizard Tower game zine that will soon be released now in January. And so I'm just going to have to buckle down and do that as soon as I get the work from Don Samora, my publisher, the editor. No, I'm the editor, actually. But anyway, so that's going on. Gangbusters stuff coming out pretty soon, hopefully. And my book is now set to release on December 5th. In case you didn't know about that, I wrote a book. I wrote a fantasy book, When the Fat Orc Sings. That's what it's called. Because that's what it's called. I did that book. I'll go over it again. I did that book about 7, 8 years ago and forgot about it. Don found out about it, read it, loved it, wants to publish it. Okay, we're in business. So hopefully by the 5th, we will have a release. It's in, I gave him the manuscript last week. The manuscript is in there. And I did an intro. I did back blurb and all that other stuff. Everything's in. It's in layout now. So we're shooting for the 5th. Hopefully. Mark, genre mixer. Zine focused on fantasy or other genres. Well, I would assume it would be all genres. I really didn't go over it with Don yet. But like I said, I haven't got anything to work on yet. I did write a review, a 1-page review for it. And so I'm in there slightly. I'd rather just do the editing work right now. But yeah, I don't see why it should be all genres. I think it's going to be focused on all gaming, all genres of gaming. Might have a little bit of an emphasis on the OSR and retro clones and things like that. So that's pretty much what's going on with that. Like I said, okay, book out, gangbusters. So that's pretty much how it's going right now. Kind of slow, gearing up for Thanksgiving. But anyway, that's a me problem. I'm trying to work on a second book now. I need to get with my friend Brian, who I co-host with on Thaco's Hammer. He's writing a book too. I want to compare notes with him and see how he does and how he does his work, because I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot, but I'm going to do this anyway. I wrote that 6-8 years ago doing National Novel Writing Month. And I did it just to prove to myself I could do it. And I stuck the book in a drawer after a couple of revisions afterwards. And I forgot about it until I mentioned it to Don. He read it, and the rest is history. But now coming up with a sequel, second book. It's been a long time. I remember doing it. I remember saying, I want to use these characters. I want to do this genre. And then I just started writing. I just put the words in, you know, and somehow I managed to keep it on track, on point where it's supposed to be. The murder mystery is not the easiest genre to work with, and then I combine that with fantasy, and oh boy. But right now, it's more like random notes. I've got like 40 years of playing gaming under my belt, and I've got a lot of notes from when I GM'd. So I'm thinking of, using a few of those. Already got characters set up. Throw a couple of a few new NPCs, I guess, and we'll see what happens. Hello, Death Angel. Good to see you, sir. I know these are kind of more like these shows are not really like, I don't have a regular release schedule. Um, I think this is more like the flash mob equivalent to a live stream, I guess. But okay, I know Mark Genre Mixer. Sorry about that. Says, I know Gangbusters is your jam, and are you writing any adventure/supplements for it? I am not, but I do have a couple in the works that I submitted a long time ago. Plus the fact that Don will be putting out, like mine and other people's, supplements for it and modules, and also Mark Hunt, the originator of Gangbusters BX, is also coming up with new supplements and modules for Drive-Thru RPG. So you would have two places you can get it: Wizard Tower and Drive-Thru RPG. So I had a couple of Gangbusters games I ran. I've done about 5, 6 for North Texas. And a couple of them, I had the notes. I gave them to Mark. Mark reworked them, gave them back to me, and I gave them to Don. And hopefully you will see them in print soon. I can't say when, but soon. See, not Mark, Don. Don is operating under a bit of a handicap right now, in the fact that he's still recovering from the fire that happened not in his warehouse, but next to his warehouse. He's using a third-party printer right now because what happened was, a few months ago, the warehouse, he was in a big warehouse complex, I guess. The warehouse next to him caught fire. And he didn't get any fire damage, but it triggered the entire warehouse's sprinkler system. Totally ruined stuff. I mean, yeah, he's got the machine stuff, but all his stock, soggy books, soggy stock. And he is still trying to recover from that. In the meantime, he's got a third-party printer set up because he does. I mean, he's got his own print shop. He does his own printing, and my hat's off to him. I, for one, have done layout before and things, and I really don't. I don't like printers. It's nothing really against them, but the process can be so minuscule. Mark, when he does his own stuff, it's through Drive-Thru RPG, so he doesn't worry about it. He just sets it up the way it should be set up. But printers, it's like you got to select this, you got to select that. I can't do anything with your PDF because it isn't in this format and things. All this stuff, I just, as a writer, I don't want to deal with. So God bless him. I'm so lucky I've got the person I got for printing, for publishing. And hopefully these books will be out soon. And I hope my book and these books will be where he wants to put them. Like he's going to be putting them on Amazon. He's going to be putting them on he's going to try and get them into Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, also on Barnes & Noble website. So he's thinking big, and I'm going to let him think big. So there you go. Anyway. So what else do we got? What else do we have today? What do we have? Ah, yes. I'm going to talk about my gaming life and why, well, just the gaming, the gaming central in America anyway. Um, yeah, you're right, Death Angel. He said, having been through my fair share of hurricanes and seeing what my family and friends went through, I can only imagine the headaches he's dealing with with the insurance companies. Oh yeah, oh yeah. You don't have I don't have the hurricanes, but we do get tornadoes. So last big wind we had a tree break our roof, and we're still dealing with the fallout with the insurance for that. The roof is fixed, but we're still trying to get people paid, if you know what I mean, including ourselves. But we'll see what happens. Anyway, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, the the gaming community, and I should probably narrow that to the OSR community because this is what it deals with. Okay, first off, I was kind of my gears started working when my friend Eric Tinkar did a video on Appendix N and how it's the be all and end all, and how, it's the thing that made RPGs and things like that. And those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, this book right here, first edition AD&D, in the back, page 224, has Appendix N, which is inspirational and educational reading. And what it is, basically Gary lines out what inspired him to make D&D. And he's got inspirational reading on here, all kinds of inspirational reading, such as Powell Anderson's Three Arts and Three Lions, etc. John Bollar's Lee Brackett. Frederick Lee Brackett, that's interesting. She used to script westerns and other movies too, along with writing. Anyway, just Edgar Rice Burroughs, of course, L. Sprague DeCamp and Pratt, August Derleth, Lord Dennisay, P.J. Farmer, Fox Gardner, Robert E. Howard, of course, the Conan series, Sterling Lanier, Fritz Lieber, H.P. Lovecraft, Merritt, Michael Moorcock, Andre Norton, Andrew J. Offutt, Paul Fletcher Pratt, Fred Soberhagen, Margaret St. Clair, J.R.R. Tolkien, of course, Jack Vance, Stanley Weinbottom, Manly Wade Wellman, Jack Williamson, and Roger Zelazny. Okay, those were the books that he would read and he was inspired by. Okay, I get that. But I myself did not. When I would read in my youth, it would be mostly nonfiction, like movie books about movies, things like that. And of course these, because I consider all role-playing, I consider them reference. Every role-playing game book is a reference book. But what I'm saying is people have made so much about this list. I mean, it's so much that like other role-playing games that like are clones or inspired by or what, like DCC, it has an Appendix N, they always point out, which I think is a good thing. Okay. Even Gangbusters said, okay, read these books, watch these movies, and watch these TV shows. Okay, fine. Little updated there. But for a long time, and I don't know if this is really, been solved or anything like that, but I never heard it from people in the gaming industry when I was growing up. But I always got I'm not going to say there were gatekeepers down there, but I always got the impression that because I wasn't a big fantasy sci-fi reader, I always felt that other gamers, other GMs looked down on me a bit because I was inspired somewhere else. I did my own thing. And I was wondering if other people felt that way. I mean, I thought I thought I was a freak, an anomaly in the system, because my inspirations were all visual, you know, movies, TV shows, especially movies. And so I try and run my game cinematically because that's where I was inspired. And I'm not saying I didn't read any of those. I mean, I read maybe like one or two Conan books, Conan stories, and I read a lot of Lovecraft. I'm surprised you didn't mention Edgar Allan Poe in there. That's interesting. But yeah, read a lot of Lovecraft, so I got kind of the idea of what's going on. But I never, and Tolkien, believe me, I tried reading Tolkien. Tolkien is not an easy read for me, I'm sorry to say. But I always felt that people thought, oh, he doesn't read this stuff. He's not a literary person. Well, yeah, I am a literary person, but it's just different literature. I mean, like I said, I did read some fiction. I read Lovecraft, Poe. I'm a big fan of Sherlock Holmes and hard-boiled detectives like Raymond Chandler, things like that. That's part of the inspiration for my book. So, hey, it's not that I'm an ignoramus or anything. I just like to get inspiration other places. But I always felt that there was other people out there, other people that would be that literate who would like, oh, yes, oh, yes. I understand that reference. Yes, I remember reading the book, da 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 da. And I'm just, at the table, I'm just standing there like, what? What? Lord of the Rings. Oh, yeah, good movie. Real good movies. Lord of the Rings. Yeah. Maybe part of the fact that people see, I'm a movie buff and I'm very visual. I mean, I do illustrations. So I'm very visual. And there's always been a schism between books and movies anyway. People like to knock movies that are based on books, but as a film buff and person who's been collecting and watching for a long time, I realized there is a subtle difference between a movie and a book, or a TV show and a book. Yes, you have all your imagination up here when you're reading the book and doing things, and they say once it's in the movies, it's somebody's vision, and they knock it or whatever. I don't read I read the book. Yeah, thank you, Death Angel. He said, don't feel bad. I haven't read Tolkien, but I love the movies, and it's on my agenda. Good for you. I can't say anything fiction is on my agenda, but you know what? I think because I lean more towards movies, and I've got a lot of inspiration from movies. Because I lean more towards movies, I think that helped me writing my fiction book, my new Fat Orc Sings, because I've read just enough, like Raymond Chandler, and I've watched enough film noir and fantasy to be able to blend them. And I played enough of this to know what the tropes are, how to do them, things like that. And by the way, Honor Among Thieves is a great movie. So, I do, at one point, I'd felt bad, but I don't feel bad, if you know what I mean. Because to me, it's like, who cares? Are you having fun at the table? Is the story working for you? Great. Don't worry about it, But some people are like, they're snobs. They're snobs. I mean, Becky called me a movie snob. And I said, no, I'm a movie buff. He said, oh, you don't like things like that. I said, well, I like what I like, okay? I mean, how many people who have read a book, who'd read a book and they look down and go, it's like, say it's a book series, and it's like, I didn't like it. I'm not going to read any more of these. I'm not going to read that author. So it happens to people that way too. So what the hey, it's and I appreciate book fiction as an art. I appreciate the fact that you can use your mind to think of anything. And I've also seen a lot of people said, like I did a reading of A Christmas Carol. I like Dickens too. Of A Christmas Carol for LibriVox. You can find it. It's version 2 if you go to LibriVox.org. LibriVox.org. And look under Glenn Hallstrom or Smokestack Jones, you'll find it. But I did a reading, and like LibriVox publishes them. You can download them off of there, but you can also download them. They put them on the Internet Archive. And the Internet Archive is where you get the reviews, because on LibriVox, unless somebody writes into the forum saying, hey, that guy was really good, you don't get a review. But on Internet Archive, you do. So I've gone there and I've looked at my version of Christmas Carol. I see these people, at least a couple of people have said, I've seen so many versions of these on movies and such like that. But listening to your audiobook, it was a revelation, because I felt like I missed a lot. And I just wanted to tell them, well, that's because an author on a book. Okay, the biggest thing between books and movies to me is, hey, Matthew, how you doing? The big thing about me is, and with books, is authors of fiction don't have a 90-minute to 2-hour or more time limit to tell their story. Okay? They can do whatever they want. And when people go make movies, they got to make some hard decisions. I mean, listen to, they still get flacked about leaving Tom Bombadil out of Lord of the Rings, the movie version. It's like, well, I can see why they did it. And he really doesn't add that much to the story. I mean, okay, because book authors they know they can put a lot more in their book than the script writers. So, hiya, Tonka Todd. How you doing? First time. By the way, before I forget, Vlog of Many Things. Don Samora's Vlog of Many Things this Thursday, 8:00 Eastern. For me, it's 7:00 Central. So, just before I get along. Longtime Thagos Hammer fan. Yeah. Fan of the channel. Yeah. Thank you. We're going to try and record an episode this weekend. Yeah. Hopefully I'll have my friend Don on there with us. But yeah, Don Samora, Vlog of Many Things. Anyway, what does it say? Yeah, like I said, authors have unlimited time, unlimited pages. I mean, guy wrote War and Peace. Tolstoy wrote War and Peace. That's not a small book, but he had all the time in the world to do it. I'll get to that in a minute. But here's a for instance. One of my favorite Dickens books is The Life and Adventures of Nicholas Nickleby. Now, I saw the movie that came out 15 or so years ago, had Nathan Lane and other people in it, and it was good. But before that, like years before it, and I still have the DVD set of Nicholas Nickleby, the Broadway show, or the London show they did that they filmed. Hello, Jim Van. Thanks for coming. What they filmed, but they did the whole book. And that show runs 8 hours. I hear tales of when it was running in the West End of London originally. It would be an all-day event. They would do like the first half of the show. People would break for an hour, go have lunch or dinner or whatever, and then come back for the second part of the show. That's great. I like that. They put everything in the book. Everything that was in the book was on stage. You can't do that in a movie theater. I mean, you can, but nobody will watch it. Remember back when they used to have big roadshow movies like blockbusters, like Ben-Hur, Ten Commandments, or even musicals like Sound of Music and stuff like that, where they would actually do an intermission in the middle of the. I think I have a 4K of the Ten Commandments up here, and they do an overture. They used to do an overture just like you were watching something on stage. How the West Was Won was that way. It's in Cinerama. We had an overture, and then they do that, and they like intermission. So everybody get up for like 15 minutes, stretch their legs, go get something to eat. Not a regular intermission, like movies now, but it was a thing. It was big. They could do that, but still the movies had. I mean, wow, that's a 3-hour movie. Well, that's pretty long for a movie. Not for a book. So that's one of the big reasons to me is why they cut up. They try to adapt things as best they can. Let me put it that way. I've seen some damn good adaptations of books that I've actually even read. For instance, like the Dickens stuff, the Sherlock Holmes stuff with Jeremy Brett. Oh, that is so. They kept the changes to a bare minimum, so they really hit the stories. They really like the story, and so I'm inspired by that in my games. There's nothing wrong with it. Okay. Yeah, Death Angel. Yeah, I only watch the extended edition too when I can sit down. I got by the way, have the extended edition of The Hobbit. No harm, no foul. Have no problem with it. Someday I'll sit down and watch the whole extended version. But I saw extended Lord of the Rings. I haven't seen extended Hobbit, but one of these days. I've also got Lord of the Rings in 4K, which makes it really nice. But like I'm saying, there's nothing wrong with being inspired by what you're being inspired by. That's what I'm saying. Maybe people are inspired by like poetry or something like that. People have been inspired from events that happen, of course. I mean, this is all gaming fodder, There are a couple of my favorite movies from Val Lewton from the 40s. Val Lewton horror films. Look him up. He's a really good producer. He did some stuff. He did like 9 horror films for RKO, but I'm not going to get into the history. But he did one called Isle of the Dead and another one called Bedlam. Both of them had Boris Karloff in it, and both of them were inspired by a painting. There was a painting, Isle of the Dead, and he based a movie. He come up with a story for it. Bedlam was all about the insane asylum back in Victorian England, and there's a series of, I don't know if they're woodcuts or drawings called The Rake's Progress. I can't remember the name of the artist, but one was where the rake ends up in the asylum Bedlam. And that one picture inspired him to write that movie. So what I'm telling people who are even like new guys or whatever, take the inspiration where you get it. If you get it in here, fine. If you get it somewhere else, no slouch. I wouldn't worry about it as long as it holds up in the game, and that's your job. That's what you got to do. That's your thing, if you know what I mean. I mean, like I said, sometimes I wished I would have read a few more things on this. And people who say, movie adaptations say like Conan and stuff. Oh, there's no really, I heard all the Harry Potter fans complaining about the movies, about how they rearranged everything from the books and da. It's like, well, yeah, it's a movie. They can do that. I'm sorry, it doesn't, float your boat like reading the book, well, if that's the case, go read the book. Absolutely. Other than, aside from all that, this is gold as far as I'm concerned. I actually, every once in a while when I'm bored, take it down and just turn to a page and start reading Gary's prose. And I'm not ashamed to say I've used it before when I couldn't sleep, and it did the trick. I mean, he really goes to town on this. I don't know. I guess he was a frustrated fiction writer or something. I think I've heard there are fiction that he written out there somewhere. But yeah, he covers, and they're all the excuse of this saying is, oh well, they needed something for, everybody's doing with D&D, everybody's doing their own thing, house ruling running the way, but we need consistent rules for like game tournaments, convention tournaments. I said, okay, but I can still use this in a game. But actually, what I usually use is Osric. When I go to a convention, like if I'm traveling, I won't take these 3 books. I'll take my copy of Osric over there because it works out just the same. I mean, there may be a couple of tweaks, but it's easier. And if I'm really strapped for space and weight, I'll take my miniature, my half size version. That's why I have glasses, so I can read game books, especially little tiny print game books, if you know what I mean. Book bricks and boards, I missed that. I have found that audiobooks, he says, have been a blessing. I have 8+ hours of commuting a week, so that has been my way of working through Appendix N. Love your work. Big fan. Thank you. 8 hours plus. Yow. Oh my gosh. That hurts thinking about it. Are you like car or train or bus, or because I keep thinking 8 hours. Wow. It's unbelievable. Well, he says 8+ hours of commuting a week. So I'm assuming that's like, an hour up and back 5 days a week or something like that, whatever adds up to 8+ hours. So like I said, I can't, that's a little like, but God bless you. And I'm glad you have stuff to listen to. And I'm glad you have stuff to listen to, you people who are listening to me and watching me or something like that. I know I'm just a crazy old man, but I like to talk, especially it has to do with gaming. There was one YouTube series I never did that I thought about, and I was going to call it Old Man Grognard's NPCs, where I come up with one NPC you can use in your game. I wasn't going to pay attention to genre. It was just going to be about this is a guy, this is a gal, this is a person, this is that you can use. I still may do that. I'm still trying to get used to getting into the groove of doing these, not the live streams. I can always do a live stream that are, that will happen. That happen on a regular basis. Last March, I quit the podcast, the regular podcast on Spotify, as you know. I just felt kind of burned out with the podcasting. I'm still doing the live streams and things like that in Dickens Hammer, but doing it at first daily, and then I did it every, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And that was it. I just ran out of. I needed time off. I needed time to recharge, so I could do this again. So I'm very, very concerned about repeating myself and things like that. Mine don't come as easy as others, say like Eric Tinkar's, because he likes to do I mean, he does stuff, good stuff, like I told you about the Appendix N and things like that. He did a whole talk about how Old School Essentials is only selling their advanced version now, which I have no problem with, because they're going to stop selling the basic. He went on about how you can't get BX anymore and stuff like that. Um, I I respectfully disagree with him because, see, Old School Essentials advanced, and they did this with Advanced Labyrinth Lord too. Is apparently, I've been gaming since '81, but not consistently. But I've understand, and also I was in California. What do you want, but people would play basic D&D. And when AD&D started coming out, first with the Monster Manual, then with the I think it was GM Player Handbook, then GM Guide. But as they got the books, they were incorporating it into their regular D&D game. So they would take the Monster Manual and just use that for other monsters in their games and things like that. And I thought that was pretty good. And so Old School Essentials Advanced and Advanced Labyrinth Lord are set up so you can do that. And they take the advanced stuff, translate it into BX, and you can use it. It's like, this is even better. It works. I like the fact that really, Death Angel, you got cred. Don't worry. Yeah, you got cred. I got cred. You got cred. Okay. So I just use it that way. And my contention is, if you want to play regular BX, it's pretty obvious which ones came from AD&D First Edition, and you can weed those out. And I think it was also, can't remember if it was OSE or Labyrinth Lord. Remember, Labyrinth Lord used to have Advanced Edition Companion, which had all the 1E stuff translated into Labyrinth Lord BX. And you had the two books. Then they came out with Advanced Labyrinth Lord, which combined the two. But one of them, I think it's OSE, where you know how in basic D&D you have races class for elves, dwarves, and halflings, and they separated in advanced. Well, I believe OSE gives you the option of playing like a races class or a race and class. They're two different write-ups, and I believe that's the way you can do it. I don't mind mixing them. You want to play a races class? Go ahead. You want to play a race and class? Go ahead. But that's the way they do it. That's brilliant. To me, it's like you can strip all that out and play BX. And I still have my original copies of BX that I bought from Half Price Books 15, 20 years ago. So you can still find copies out there. But I'm not gonna doom and gloom because, I see they're only doing advanced now. See, to me, Eric started sounding like he's going to carry a sign, beware the end of the world or something. I mean, he was lamenting basically, and I guess you can lament to a certain extent, but the originals are still out. You can still play the old stuff. Captain Hawden, my only experience with basic D&D is Warriors of the Eternal Sun on the Sega Genesis. Great game. Okay, I never saw that. What I do have, though, is I like to play. I have a Steam account, and I got a Steam account specifically to buy the Tales of Mystara D&D video games. The two, was it Tower of Doom, and the two they put together, because I love that stuff. The old stand-up video game stuff of D&D. Oh, it's so nice. It's so nice. Yeah, so that's what I used to play. But anyway, so I don't think it's as much doom and gloom as they say it is. Uh, Death Angels. So for me, I tend to compare everything to 3/3.5, and my opinions on things have shifted as I've gained wisdom points. Lol. Good. Keep keep going at it, and you will gain more wisdom. Um, and 85. Don't be ashamed. You were still, I think you were on the cusp of second edition, but that's okay. I played my share of second edition. Hell, I got a whole podcast on that. Captain Howden says Warriors of the Eternal Sun takes place in the hollow world of Mystara. I know you guys on Thaco's Hammer don't like Hollow World. Well, I'm not going to say I don't like Hollow World, but I do have problems with it. It's too much setting. Well, that's not the problem I have with it. I mean, there are certain parts I really like, It's more pulp. That's why I liked when when 3.5 came out with Eberron. That was more pulp D&D, but Hollow World was its own pulp. And you had Lost Worlds with dinosaur stuff in it. You can do that. But what I didn't like is the fact that they kept the technology, the gods. It's like this one rule. Okay, this technology is iron based. This is stone based. You can make an iron thing in the iron thing, but take it over a stone, it doesn't work, and all that kind of. I hate that. I hate that. They were so worried about the civilizations advancing. I mean, how much advanced civilization do you get in the Forgotten Realms, other than when they put a new edition of D&D out or want to revive it, for 5 years or whatever? That's the only time when the creators decide. And I just didn't see the point of putting that restriction on a world like that. It just didn't make any sense to me. I mean, I probably could run it and just, house rule them out of there or whatever. It's like, whatever's going on in the stars, going on here. Fine, go. Anyway, I also heard that like one of the nations, the gods sunk into the hollow world, the one that had the guys from the Princess Ark wandering around. So that wasn't happening anymore. I kind of liked the Voyages of the Princess Ark. That was nice. That was good fiction. But anyway, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Okay. Yes. Anyway. Death Angel. I didn't like Eberron. Love Forgotten Realms. Still do. But I've learned the problems with running in a fleshed out world, especially with some players, are being encyclopedias of that. I know that it almost makes me fond for rules lawyers. Some of these guys they can really be gatekeepers on Forgotten Realms. Sorry you didn't like Eberron. I mean, I liked it because, like I said, it was more action adventure. It was more Indiana Jones than D&D, and the fact that they had black powder, they had guns. I have no problem putting guns in my world. Magic Punk, that's pretty good. I have no problem putting guns in my worlds. In fact, when I got Deluxe Tunnels and Trolls, I found out, they have guns here too. Cool. I like firearms up to a certain level. When I played in Eberron, in the 5e Eberron, they had guns. And I said, I have two guns. I'm going to have a pistol and I'm going to have a rifle. But I wanted it very specific. He said, well, Carlos was running. I says, well, what do you mean? I says, what kind of guns they got? Well, they got 6 guns. I said, I don't want 6 guns. I want cap and ball. I want, one shot, bang. Then you go in with your sword. And then when you reload it, you do it when you're in downtime. Same thing. That's what I want. Because I just felt that was appropriate for that type of fantasy. Besides, I'm always of the opinion, if you don't have the flintlocks and the blunderbusses and stuff, you can't really run pirates. Pirates are always like gun, sword, you know? And and they do the same thing. They keep like 2 or 3 out. I remember in the game Freebooters, which is all about pirates based on White Box, they showed pictures where the guys that have bandoleros of single shot pistols. Boom, boom, boom. You just throw them or shoot them, throw them down, pick another one again, boom. And they always say it was shock and awe anyway. So that would work for me. And now, if my players really had a problem with guns, I had an alternate way of doing it. I would go Steam. I would go because my fantasy is pretty much steampunk fantasy because I love it. Somewhere between Terry Gilliam and Tim Burton. You know what I'm saying? But if they didn't like it, I would go Steam. And I say, well, what do you mean? It says Steam and Clockwork. You have guns, but they are things like crank, shoot, or longer, you had air pistols, air rifles. Boom. Well, what about the cannons on the ship? Steam cannons. Nothing wrong with that. And there was one time I was really contemplating, in certain rare occasions, white flour can explode if it's packed enough over and heat and all that kind of. Maybe I could make it so their flour they use for baking stuff can also be used as ammunition. What do you think? Anyway, Death Angel, what would it take to get you to come and run a game at a con? Money. I will be doing 2 cons this coming year. I'm going to do the usual North Texas RPG Con in the Dallas area, Irving, Texas. But in April, I will be going, around my birthday, I will be going up to Battle Creek, Michigan to be at WizardCon 2. And there I am a special guest. So, things like they comp my badge, they comp my room. All I need to do is figure out how to get my butt up there. I really want to just like take a flight, but right now money's tight and things like that. So I kind of worry about, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to go to North Texas, but I'm still going to try. Bad Mike, who one of the guys who runs North Texas, says, he just looks at me, you are going to North Texas. I said, I'll let you figure that out. See, I like North Texas because I'm in Oklahoma, unfortunately. But the Dallas area is like a 3-hour drive away. No problem. And the nice thing about that is I don't have to take a flight, which means I can carry more in the car. Because every time I go out, like I went last year to New York to visit Eric and Jason, I had to like really be conscious of, because I had to run games while I was there. So I had to really be conscious of what stuff I had to take. And let me tell you, I had 2 carry-ons and they weighed a ton. They were just barely, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I like that because I just put stuff in my trunk and go. Death Angel, love to try Gangbusters, hoping to get Don on another stream with me and have him bring Mark too. I don't see that. That sounds like pretty good. Hell, you can have me on there too if you want. I don't care. And he's also loved to go to North Texas and CNY. I hear CNY is good. North Texas is always a blast. Somebody told me, I think it was Don. Somebody told me a while ago on one of the vlog of many things. They said they've heard a lot of people talk about North Texas RPG Con. And they said everywhere I look, nobody has a bad word for it. Everybody loves it. Now, me wanting to take things with a grain of salt, I can go, yeah, you're right. I'm thinking 99% of the time. I've heard a couple of people, I'm not firsthand, but I've heard people say that there's a couple people who, well, then again, you're dealing with biased people. People are always biased. What do I, you know? That's why I don't deal with politics and stuff like that. I mean, I have my opinions, but I keep them to myself because, as they say, opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one. But I'm sure the people who didn't like it was because something bad happened, and oh my God, that makes the con terrible. But no, North Texas has a stellar, as far as I'm concerned, a stellar reputation. Just, yeah, you're too young. Dead Angel. Oh boy. That's a pretty good idea. I'm in East Tennessee, and more than 4 hours is a major travel expense. Plus, I'm too young and too broke to retire. Amen. I am old enough to retire, but the broke thing kind of stays with you. You know what I mean? I mean, we're waiting. I'm waiting for tomorrow when our Social Security comes in to get groceries. I mean, it's not that we're starving right now, but you know, we got to stock up a bit, a bit. And when you're when you're diabetic, that's kind of concerning. Even though I'm the world's worst diabetic, I am. I really am. I really don't pay attention. I take the meds, but I don't pay attention to what I'm eating, blood sugar, that kind of thing. I'm sure next time I go to the doctor, he's going to rip me a new one. But, you know, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Well, anyway, I'm about done here. I'm glad I could. I know a lot of you guys watch on your like lunch hour, and I'm glad. And the overseas people, of course, it's probably a little easier for you to watch. I'm glad to do it. I'm glad to come on these things. Yeah, Death Angel. Two things we have in common. I haven't checked my sugar in weeks. Try months for me. Oh, good. It's today. Was it today? Veterans Day. Can't remember. But I can't. Apparently, there is one national holiday. Veterans. Today's veteran. That's weird. It's so weird because today's Tuesday. Usually, those things fall on a Monday, so you get a 3-day weekend. But Tuesday. Wow. Well, thanks for reminding me. By the way, that means I'm not going to get any mail. But anyway, folks, Vlog of Many Things Thursday. Every other Friday, I'm on Triple D with Eric Tinkar. And I hope to see you guys there. We will talk more. Read your Appendix N, I guess. Get inspired wherever you can get inspired. And I will take care, folks. Bye-bye.